If you overthink everything, you've probably been told to just relax, stop worrying, or don't make it so deep. Overthinking is usually framed as a flaw, something that holds you back or makes life harder than it needs to be. But psychology tells a more interesting story. What looks like overthinking on the surface is often a sign of rare mental strengths that most people never fully develop. Today, we're reframing this trait, not as a weakness, but as a quiet advantage hiding in plain sight. Let's look at 5 rare advantages you likely have if you overthink everything. First, you have unusually strong self-awareness. Psychology shows that people who overthink tend to engage in more self-reflection. You replay conversations, analyze your reactions, and question your own motives. While this can feel exhausting, it also means you understand yourself on a deeper level than most. You don't just feel emotions, you examine them. You notice patterns in your behavior. You catch subtle changes in your mood and mindset. This level of self-awareness is the foundation of emotional growth. Many people repeat the same mistakes for years because they never pause to reflect. You do the opposite. You're constantly learning about yourself, even when it's uncomfortable. Overthinking isn't you being stuck, it's you processing. Second, you're highly perceptive and read between the lines. Research indicates that overthinkers are more sensitive to nuance. You notice tone shifts, facial expressions, pauses, and inconsistencies that others miss. This doesn't mean you're imagining things. It means your brain is wired to detect subtle information. In social situations, you often sense what's unsaid. In relationships, you pick up on emotional undercurrents early. This can make you feel too sensitive, but in reality, it's a form of social intelligence. You understand people not just by what they say, but by how they say it, and what they avoid saying altogether. That's a rare skill in a world that skims the surface. Third, you're deeply conscientious and thoughtful. Psychology shows that people who overthink tend to score higher in conscientiousness, a trait linked to responsibility, reliability, and long-term success. You don't rush decisions because you care about outcomes. You consider consequences. You think about how your choices affect others. That's why you might replay decisions long after they are made, not because you're weak, but because you take things seriously. While others act first and think later, you do the reverse. This makes you someone people can trust. You're not careless with words, promises, or responsibilities. Overthinking, in this case, is the cost of being deeply considerate. Fourth, you have a natural ability to anticipate problems. Research on cognitive processing suggests that overthinkers are often strong at scenario planning. Your mind runs simulations. What if this happens? What could go wrong? While this can spiral into anxiety, it also means you're excellent at preparation. You often catch issues before they become real problems. You think ahead, plan backups, and notice risks early. In workplaces, families, and friendships, this makes you a quiet stabilizer. You're the one who sees the cracks forming before the structure collapses. When balanced, this trait becomes foresight, not fear. Fifth, you have exceptional depth and creativity. Studies on creativity show a strong link between deep thinking and original insight. Overthinkers don't accept simple answers. You explore ideas from multiple angles. You connect dots others don't even see. That's why many overthinkers are drawn to writing, art, music, philosophy, or psychology. Your mind doesn't skim, it dives. You search for meaning, patterns, and truth. While this depth can feel isolating, it's also what gives you a rich inner world. You don't just experience life, you interpret it. And that depth often becomes wisdom with time. Here's the important reframe. Overthinking isn't the problem. Unregulated overthinking is. When your mind has no off switch, it turns inward and becomes heavy. But when guided with self-compassion, boundaries, and rest, it becomes insight, empathy, and strength. You're not broken, you're tuned finely. And like any sensitive instrument, you need care, not criticism. If you've spent years trying to fix this part of yourself, consider this instead. What if your mind isn't doing too much, but simply doing more than average? What if the goal isn't to stop overthinking, but to learn how to work with it? So if this video resonated with you, take a moment to acknowledge something. Your depth is not an accident. Your awareness is not a flaw. And your tendency to think deeply has value, even when others don't see it yet. If you want more calm, validating insights about personality, hidden strengths, and the psychology behind who you are, subscribe to the channel. You're not alone in thinking deeply, and here, that depth is welcome.